All right, so today we're going to do the percent yield lab. As always, if you have not yet printed a copy of the lab sheet, you'll want to do that. And then if you haven't watched the introductory video, pause this video and go watch the introductory screencast so that you know what we're doing while we do the video. So together we're going to follow through the steps, and step number one is actually to clean an evaporating dish and a watch glass, which we've already done. So we're already set there. And so our first step is going to be to weigh the dish and the watch glass. Now, of course, the first thing we do is we re-zero the balance. And now that that has been, wait for it, re-zeroed, we will place the watch glass and the evaporating dish on the balance, and that's stabilized, and that is the mass of both the dish and the watch glass. Now at this point, as it says, we're going to add approximately 1 gram of sodium bicarbonate to the dish. It's important that we not get less than 1 gram of sodium bicarbonate, because if we do, that will remove a significant digit from our calculations. So we will place a weighing boat on the balance, and we will then tear out the mass of the weighing boat. And now we will get our approximately 1 gram of sodium bicarbonate. Now in doing this, we want to get more, but not less than 1 gram. So that will certainly be close enough. But that also will not be the amount of sodium bicarbonate that ends up in our evaporating dish, because we're not going to be able to transfer all of that cleanly out of the weighing boat, which is why we will eventually figure out the mass of the sodium bicarbonate in the dish through subtraction. That'll be a calculation that you'll do later on. Okay, so now we have the sodium bicarbonate in the evaporating dish, and we will then re-zero the balance, taking the mass of the weighing boat out, and then we will once again weigh, I think I hit that funny, re-zeroing again, we will once again weigh the dish and the glass and the sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so at this point now we are ready to carry out the reaction. And so in order to do that, we are going to react the sodium bicarbonate in the dish with excess hydrochloric acid. And as we do, we will be stirring this in order to keep the sodium bicarbonate from clumping up in the bottom of the dish. Notice as we add the hydrochloric acid to the sodium bicarbonate, that this fizzes, which shouldn't be surprising to you from having watched the introductory screencast. But now that we've got enough liquid in here from the hydrochloric acid, we can then start to stir this. Oh, thank you. We can then start to stir this, making sure that the sodium bicarbonate is not clumping up. All right. So as we continue on then, even though the sodium bicarbonate is now largely dissolved in the water, we see that this is still definitely fizzing, meaning that we have more sodium bicarbonate still present in the solution. All right. So as you learned in the introductory screencast, we are going to continue to add hydrochloric acid until it stops bubbling. This tells us that we are out of sodium bicarbonate and the reaction is stopped. It's still bubbling pretty aggressively. Ooh. That's slowing down a little.
Getting closer.
It seems it, huh? It still feels gritty in the bottom, though, on the stirring rod. I'm going to run a couple drips over the stirring rod. Try to get that all cleaned off. Maybe that grittiness is just the feel of the dish itself.
Could be. It's so busy.
It is. Oh, I think we may be getting close. Gotta scratch my nose. Uh-oh.
Oh.
I think we're really close.
Oh.
All right, let's try one more drop. More?
A little bit more. There's a little bit of bubbles.
Okay. I still see bubbles.
Yep.
Maybe a little there.
Yeah.
No,
There's
still.
teeny tiny amount.
Still, huh? You can probably see the bubbles better in the phone than I can. Just, I think you have better lighting. Still bubbles?
Yeah. I feel like they're still a little easier to see in person.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Well, then take my word for it.
There's bubbles, guys.
Boy, I feel like we're really close. Yeah, still.
Teeny tiny amount.
Still?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that didn't get you, did it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, good.
Oh.
That. What do you think? Try another drop?
I think we're there.
I think we're there. All right. Oh, but then you stir
Then you
it.
stir it and it bubbles.
Yeah, I think there might be a little up on the sides of the dish. So let's give it one more stir. And then one more drip. That's it.
Oh, that's it. That's perfect.
Right. Okay. All right. So now the reaction is over, and all of the sodium bicarbonate has been converted into table salt and water and carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide obviously bubbled away. So what we have in that dish is table salt and water. So now we got to get rid of the water. And as we learned months and months ago during the salt and sand lab, that if you want to get rid of water, the way to do it is to boil it away. So that's what we're going to do. There we go. All right, so we're going to take our evaporating dish and we're going to place it on the wire gauze, and we are going to cover that with our concave up watch glass to cut down on splatter. We're gonna let that boil. What do you think? Should we pause? This is gonna take a while.
Yeah, it'll probably take a bit.
Okay.
Okay, see you soon, guys.
All right. So we're getting closer now to the water being driven out of the products of our reaction. If you listen, perhaps you can hear it crackling. But also, if you look closely, you can see that salt is starting to accumulate under the rim of the watch glass. But we also lost a little bit of salt that's here on the wire gauze. Of course, oh, we even got a little bit on the countertop. Now, obviously, that's a lot less than would be there had we not put the watch glass on. But if you remember from when we did the salt and sand lab, salt was flying everywhere. So the watch glass is doing its job, but any of the salt that we're losing on the table or on the wire gauze will decrease our yield, which are certainly things to keep in mind when you're answering the conclusion questions on the lab sheet. I think that's dry.
I think it sounds pretty good.
All right, so why don't we shut this off? This is going to take a while to cool, so should we pause again?
Yep.
All right. And we're back. So this is now cool enough to touch, which means that it is also cool enough to weigh, and they've been able to see the salt, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the salt there trapped underneath the watch glass. So now we just need to know how much the salt and the watch glass and the evaporating dish weigh. And that's settled in. And that's your last piece. Oh, did it move? Maybe that one. There we go. 48.77. Okay, so that is your last piece of data. And now it's up to you to analyze this data and calculate your percent yield. Please remember that we are using this lab and the write-up for this lab as a culminating event in the class. The expectation is that you're writing up this lab using the conventions that you've learned throughout the year. If you're not sure how to represent mass by difference, don't guess, don't do what feels right, but actually look it up and make sure that you're structuring this lab correctly. Remember that if you use an equation, you have to reference it before you use it. Structure and organization are important, and these are things we're looking for as you write up the lab. Then on the conclusion questions, be sure that you're giving thorough thought to your answers and that you're writing in well-structured sentences. If you have questions, reach out to your teachers and do well on your write-ups.